Welcome to another episode of Craft and Cocktails, powered by LimeLight Wired. I'm your host, Chris Werner. Today, we're speaking with LA-based lighting designer and educator, Andrew Schmedake. His award-winning work includes theater, dance, concerts, events, architecture, and most recently, live streaming. Let's get right to it. Hey, Andrew, what are you drinking?
Hey, I'm excited to go and Irish up my coffee this afternoon because it's a little early today.
It is a little early. I went for clear liquor, so it looks like it's just a summer afternoon.
It's just LaCroix over there. It's all good. It's just a little bubbly.
It really is actually bubbly with some vodka. Classy. Thanks for taking time with us. We've got a bunch of questions about you and your process, and in particular, some of the new current things that you are diving into, which frankly, you are leading the charge. So let's get all of this background stuff out of the way. Where are you from? How did young Andrew find his way into entertainment?
So I grew up in San Diego, and I worked in lighting as of my sophomore year of high school for the theater department at my high school because my best friend jumped into it. And so I followed along, and I got my first paycheck doing that. I lit a dance concert and made like $150, and I was thrilled because I can go see the movies like 15 times.
I had a very similar, like $150, and I was like, holy crap, you can get paid for this.
I know, it feels like nothing, but at the time when you're 16, oh my God, you can buy the world.
It was big. It was huge. Okay, so you stayed in since then. Have there been jobs outside of entertainment? Have you, I worked at an ice rink. Have you had like normal person jobs?
My most normal person job was my summer in my undergrad from freshman to sophomore year. I was undeclared my first year undergrad. I didn't actually want to keep on doing theater or live entertainment, so I tried a bunch of different things. And so in that vein, I went ahead and took a job as a facility services officer for campus conference services at UC Santa Barbara. And that job was building tables and setting up events for conferences, as well as a ton of tech support for their actual conference center. So learning how to go ahead and set up PowerPoints for a variety of different Mac or PC options. And I realized, oh my gosh, I'm still doing tech stuff even in my spare time. Why not make a real career out of this?
Right, still a nerd. Wait, undergrad was UC Santa Barbara?
That's right.
What a horribly ugly place to go to undergrad.
I know. Well, I went there undeclared. I went there not for any sort of reputation for the school, beyond the fact that I could go to school on the beach and it's a UC. And it was one of the best decisions of my life.
How did you find yourself so entrenched in the LA theater scene?
So I was always thinking of Carnegie. We met at Carnegie Mellon over in Pittsburgh. And I was always thinking of that school as a stepping stone to Broadway. And in my last year of that school, I just realized that I wanted to go ahead and I was going to make a decision that was going to set up where I was going to be for the next decade of my life as I went ahead and built a career wherever I landed. And I realized that I didn't want to go ahead and give up on the friends and family and connections I had back in California. So I looked for the best entertainment town that there could be in California, close to where I grew up in San Diego, and landed in LA, where I have been working ever since, predominantly in theater, but also diving into things like stand-up comedy, lighting for concerts, lighting for architecture, whoever's going to hire me to go ahead and work on some cool lights.
We're going to assume that when you say you're working on stand-up comedy, we're standing at the microphone. You don't have to correct us. That's what we're going to believe.
Well, also, I had a hand on the console, too, so I could light myself. That's the important thing.
Perfect. Find your light. Was the theater scene in Los Angeles a tough nut to crack? Was it immediately embracing? Was it, how did that go?
It was a solid about 9 months before I actually started to go ahead and work with adult actors in this town. The first 6 months, I didn't even light theater until I got a break lighting some children's theater up in Malibu. And then eventually I finally got to the point where I was offering to go ahead and sort of volunteer, hang out with people and work with them on small intimate theater productions, theaters of less than 99 seats. And that's where I started actually making a break into this town. Someone couldn't do a job and I got brought on to go ahead and replace them. And then from there, it just sort of exploded from maybe 1 to 2 or 3 different connections I made initially when I first landed in town.
Could you tell us about a couple of recent projects?
Absolutely. So some of the more significant ones, the ones that led to those pieces of hardware behind me, were done with a group called After Hours Theater Company, who tries to do interactive and immersive theater in town, largely in found spaces. And so one of those projects was an immersive production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where we went to a warehouse in Burbank that had no infrastructure, tied in power, installed a bunch of dimmers, and then turned it into a mental asylum. Our patrons were checked in at the street and asked, okay, what's your name, what's your reservation? And they were told, oh no, it's not 2017, 2018, whenever the show happened. It's actually 1963, and you're being checked in because you're a mental patient here. We dressed them in scrubs and then let them loose into this probably 3,000 square foot warehouse that we'd actually completely decked out to look like a mental asylum. We had themed cocktails that were served, for instance, Jello shots out of a syringe. They got to explore and find little pieces of narrative that led them to the actual inciting incident that kicks off the actual narrative of the play proper. And then we, depending on how much you wanted to go ahead and participate, you could either be on stage during the actual therapy circles throughout the narrative, until the point where it ends, and then you've got about 30 minutes of just hanging out in the venue, exploring some more after the show's done. So work like that with that company has sort of been where I cut my teeth in this town.
That's awesome. I don't want to sit on stage in a therapy so ever. No.
Which is why we also had some hospital gallery seating, sort of served in gallery seating for people who wanted to go ahead and take a step back and just enjoy the drinks and watch a show.
That's awesome. And now in this current climate where we're all stuck at home and none of us can go to immersive theater, take us down this path of your most interesting recent projects.
Certainly. So that same organization, the producer from that group, went ahead and formed a partnership to create a Twitch channel called PLAYHOUSE, which is actually a tiny television studio, multi-cam set with 3 cameras in his second bedroom. And we built a pipe grid in there, put in some lights, and usually treated it as a sort of musical cabaret night, where people could come in from LA Town and they broadcast on Twitch, musical cabaret, Disney-themed musicals, a variety of different things every Monday and Thursday, up until the point where even that wasn't feasible to gather once we realized that we couldn't gather much larger given the circumstances of social distancing.
So for those of us who live in a world that gaming means first generation Game Boy, tell us about Twitch.
For sure. So Twitch.tv is a live stream platform for people to play video games. It has exploded. It's been actually owned by Amazon nowadays. And what's happened, and what you can usually find there in terms of content, is just a tiny picture-in-picture of someone's face on a webcam while they play a video game, which is the larger part of the screen. There might be overlays or lower thirds of what's happening, or featured parts of chat that sort of leave out there. But it's typically a place for people to go ahead and share what they're doing while playing video games, and the money there for the video game platform is insane. And so what what Pixel Playhouse is trying to do is trying to go ahead and break into that in terms of bringing live entertainment to digital mediums on a platform that's largely populated by video game fans.
Okay, so the most recent project for Pixel Playhouse was The Importance of Being Earnest. The technological hurdles to do this were pretty numerous, and the success is pretty impressive. So it's literally the next version of where things are going. You are one of the people taking us there. So man, tell us how this all works.
Join us for part 2. Andrew's going to take us on a tour of one of his most recent OBS show files. We'll talk about storytelling on Twitch and working with a cast and crew spread all over the country.